Hello, everybody. I am Holly Charles, the Marketing and Community Engagement Director at KTSU 90.9 FM's new radio station, The Vibe. And we are a family, and we have been discussing over the last 48 hours the decision made in the Breonna Taylor case, or at least the indictment decision, or lack thereof, I guess we should say, regarding her death. And we thought it was very, very important that we address this issue, that we address the pain that a lot of people are feeling right now. And so today we thought it very, very important to not only discuss Breonna Taylor, but the lack of protection for Black women in general and what that means for our community. And so joining us for this very difficult but necessary discussion today is actress, musician, and administrator for KTSU 90.9 FM radio, Angel Sylvester. We also have KTSU radio personality and co-host of Revive, Bishop Becker, with us today. Thank you, ladies, for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I know this is a really, really tough topic to have, and of course, when ladies join, particularly Black women join, we like to talk about self-care, and we like to kiki and have a great time. But this is something that makes us a bit somber, something that we have to talk about, though. We have to discuss what has happened. What we do know is that officers, out of the 3 officers, only 1 officer was indicted, and it was not related to the death of Breonna Taylor. And we've kind of gotten justice for drywall, so to speak. It was wanton endangerment is what he was charged with, but there has been no justice or really addressing the death of this young woman. And so what I wanted to start off and ask you ladies was, what's the most disappointing or disheartening aspect of this indictment or this decision in regards to Breonna Taylor?
Well, I'll go first. I think for me, we and no disrespect to any other case that has gone forth, in any area of justice that has gone forth before this, but this, to me, in my mind, was a clear-cut case. This is a young woman who is not taking from society, but adding to and being a benefit to society, minding her own business in her home, doing her due diligence as a community service person, but as just a woman and an aunt, and taking care of her family, and is massacred, let's just say, for no reason at all. And then no one feels like, though we're fighting, we're having these conversations, no one feels the need to take responsibility for that. And as a Black woman, it does make you feel like, okay, so if I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, I'm not somewhere where I'm not supposed to be, and I still end up end of the stick, and then there's no justice for me after the fact. That is very, very frustrating as an African American woman, to just know that though their people are fighting, but at the end game nobody really cares, and that's really disheartening to kind of witness or experience.
To piggyback off what you said, it's really ironic that we have this public servant, right, who saves lives.
Right.
And then in the midst of that, she is killed by other public servants. I think we have to, I think what has been the most haunting for me personally, and I want to hear what Angel has to say about this too, but as you were speaking, I thought about a conversation I had with another sister friend earlier today. What's haunting about this is that this clearly could have been you or I. This was not this was not an extraordinary situation.
Right.
There was a botched investigation that said that the reason why they thought that she was involved in some sort of criminal activity, which still does not mean that you deserve to die, but the reason why they thought she was worth targeting was because she received many packages and because she had bailed out an ex-drug offender. She bailed him out of jail before. And I thought to myself, when you look at the effects of systemic oppression and where you have placed Black people, that is every Black person. I grew up, right outside of Chicago. Almost everyone that I knew had gone to jail before. Not because they're inherently criminal, but they're systemically poor. And there is a correlation between poverty and imprisonment. And so that could have been me. I've bailed someone out of jail before. I'm
Yeah.
a Black woman on this soil, in American, on American soil. That could have been me. To
Right.
think that what's suspicious about my behavior is that I've ordered a few things from Amazon is very disturbing.
Yeah.
And so that haunted me because I realized that Breonna Taylor is me. She is you. She's every woman.
Yeah.
Angel, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? I'm sorry.
So for me, in observing this entire situation, I was baffled at the the minute details behind it all. In police, they normally do get adequate information before they
Right.
move forward to an arrest warrant. They make sure that they have all the details. So for me, it makes me wonder, did that actually occur? Did they go through all the details? Did they know for sure that this was the correct person, this was the correct house, this is who we needed to target, and like have all the facts? Because
Right.
for me, looking at it from the outside in, I'm gonna be like, well, what are the facts? Like, what fact says that, okay, yes, we verified this was the person, this is where they live, and this is who is in the house right now. Like, before an attack hits someone's house like that, an investigation is already happening prior to. So I think that in itself baffled my mind, because I'm like, well, what did the paperwork say? Where was the investigation? What told you that this was the location, the exact location that you need to kick down somebody's door and shoot them up
Mhm.
with no reason, no
No
problem.
warning. Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah.
didn't have evidence, and what we've learned is this: the gentleman that she had dated at some point in her past, the gentleman had already been arrested at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
He had already kicked in doors on another side of town, and they had already targeted several homes on that same impoverished, drug-infested block. 40 minutes later, they go to her home, totally out of that neighborhood. They they say that they had investigated her and they saw these packages and thought that maybe she was holding money for him or narcotics, but they weren't aware that there was a 2-year-old child that was there sleeping several nights a week, or that she lived with her 20-year-old sister.
Right.
They didn't know anything
So
because
much information. Yeah. That's a lot of information.
yes, and so even
Yeah.
when you look at the police report, they put on the police report that there was no forced entry and that there were no injuries.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a farce, but what it really proves is that racial bias allows people to treat us indifferently.
Right.
It allows a lot of excuses and room for dare I say white imagination to say that if you're black you're criminal, and so everyone wants to believe that the officers were just in danger, but it couldn't possibly be the woman standing on the other side of the gun who
Yeah.
was a
Couldn't.
couldn't possibly be.
And that in itself, as a Black woman, is literally nerve-wracking. Can also put you in a state of nervousness, anxiousness, just because I have to figure out. I'm gonna be honest, like, I took a LTC class because I was like, I need to know how to protect myself at all costs, because at this point I cannot count on anybody else to protect me other than me. And
Mm,
that's literally crazy, because I'm not a criminal. Though, I mean, I work around criminals, but again, I'm not a criminal. I'm doing nothing but public service, like helping people. And why do I have to feel like the people that were set here, that took an oath here to protect me, are not protecting me? They are the people that are killing me. That's not cool.
mhm,
So to say something to add to the last part that you just said, the people that are set in place to protect us, they're not protecting us, they're killing us. So I'm in my family, there are, a few police officers and then a few military people. So from the inside, they're saying that, yes, we are set to go forth and to protect and serve the community. But you also have your police officers, and this is the part where my mind goes, what? So he's like, there are some people that sign up to be police officers, but they are not properly trained for all situations. Like, for example, somebody mentioned, I have this family Zoom meeting or whatever, and they were like, well, say for example, matter of fact, I think it was, I can't remember what case it was, but someone who had a mental disorder, but the police officers didn't know. They just thought that the person was being was trying to provoke them, or trying to make the situation worse, and they ended up killing him. So in their mind, they're like, well, should the police go to the scene first, or should a social worker? For me, I don't think a social worker should go to the scene because, anyone who's dealing with a mental disorder, you don't necessarily know which way they're going to go, left or right. So yes, I do need the police officer there to protect and to serve or whatever. But I also need that police officer to know as far as how far to go without shooting, because there are situations where, depending on color, that they will be more lenient to the situation, instead of attacking first. But the problem is within the police force is that there are a lot of people who get on the force because they just want to be police officers, and they don't go in with the mindset. Yes, I do, and I hate to say this because I love our police officers, but some of them don't go in with the mindset. Yeah, I want to protect and serve. Some are going in because generations before were officers, or oh, I think I look cool with a badge and a gun, or and it's sad to say, some do have those hidden things in their hearts where they do feel a certain type of way towards another race because they haven't taken the time to understand that race. It's just like a Black person saying, oh, well, all white people are alike. That's not true. Just like we know all Black people aren't alike. We're all different, but I think for the police force, there is lack of training that needs to training that needs to take place in all situations, dealing with someone with a mental issue, of dealing with warrants, and it still gets stuck in my head. I still don't know how they kick down that door without a proper investigation taking place beforehand, but
I don't know how we shoot first, ask questions later. I can't ever understand that. I don't understand that. And I feel like there's so many other ways that you can disarm a person other than shooting to kill. And I get it, because I have family members that, serve in law enforcement too, and they'll be like, well, we're trained to kill. Well, can we get some retraining here? Because can we train the wound slightly? Like, not trained to kill, but train the wound slightly. And the thought process.
Yes, police officers are not supposed to be trained to kill us. They're supposed to be trained to defend us. So there's a protect and serve. But when you don't value the bodies that you're supposed to serve, it's like walking outside and stepping on ants and saying that's just a casualty. And I'm tired of us being a casualty of war. And speaking of which, moving beyond just the Breonna Taylor case, this is, I want us to look at the lack of protection for Black women in general. And so what's been interesting, and I want to hear you guys' perspective on this, is that I've started to see a lot of posts kind of mentioning that famous 1962 Malcolm X speech, where he's saying, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected. Is now the time for us to also call out Black men? Is that a divisive call, or is that a call to action for the improvement and enhancement of our culture?
I think it's to improve the entire culture. But I will say, in today's society, it does make me think, as a Black woman, anything I do, whether I get 10 degrees, 5 masters, or whatever, will it still be good enough? Will I still be good enough, whether it be in the employment industry? Will I be good enough even in a relationship? Like, will I be good enough even for my own culture? That's just how it's making me feel. And it's not to say that there are any insecurities. I am very confident and firm in who I am, but it's with everything that's going on, it's like it doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter how well you articulate your words. It doesn't matter how you sit up tall and how you address or how you look. It's still not going to be enough in certain environments.
Is it enough in our culture? And when I say that, I mean specifically in talking to Black men, because this question is being raised, right? It's being raised because, you know, right after this decision, now we have this controversial issue with Tory Lanez dropping an album immediately after, you know, this Breonna, this botched indictment or whatever it is that they're doing. People are talking directly to Black men. And so I'm saying in panel discussions like this, right? Not speaking out of anger, do we need to be making a call to Black men? Is this, are we the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected people in America? And if we are, why?
I'm gonna say, I will say this. I think the African American race as a whole is all of those things. I honestly do believe that women point are becoming, especially Black women, have become a byproduct of that. And when I say that, I mean, if you look at, I don't know if y'all ever heard of the Willie Lynch papers. So if you look at the Lynch papers and the way the Willie Lynch, the slave masters papers of how that you should be able to control your slaves, it started with, if I break the man down, the Black man in front of the Black wife, then the Black wife will chasten everything and correct everything and make everything else, the children and everything else, fall into suit. And so honestly, at this point, this ain't nothing but modern day slavery. We dealing with Willie Lynch, oh my God, thousands of years later, because though we're putting knees on necks of Black men, it's still Black women out here that are suffering the same or sometimes even more, because Black women are still being raped. Yeah. The difference is it's called something different. It's called sex trafficking now. It's the same game. Yes. It's the same game. It's like literally insane because nothing has changed.
Yeah.
So right here in the city of Houston, we know Houston is the mecca for sex trafficking.
Right.
And so we've made lots of jokes about what's happening on Bissonnette, but we don't talk about how many sex traffic victims are actually there. I had an opportunity to do a ride along with HPD and actually go in and speak with a lot of those women. And I'll just say there was an 18-year-old woman miscarrying in the back of the car that I was riding in.
Wow.
Not from the city of Houston, not from the state of Texas. And what I was informed was most of those women on that track, when they stopped, and the majority of them, over 90% of them, have IDs that are from another state. And so, again, if these were blonde-haired white girls, would we see this as an epidemic? And why don't we see it as an epidemic now?
Right. And again, for me, society and the world in which we lived and grown in has painted, if you notice, everything Black is negative. Everything. Like, you'll look at Black actresses over white actresses for centuries. Well, she's good for a Black actress. Like, I competed in the Miss America circuit, and I'll never forget that the girl that won was a Caucasian girl. I competed for Miss Atlanta. When it came to talent, I'll beat her in talent. I was told that I was too big. I was a size 2. Mm-hmm. And we had to stuff sis in her dress and she was a 6. But because I was Black and the way that I'm shaped, I'm too big. I'm too big to compete in the Miss America circuit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what are you saying? Like, everything that is natural, our culture or our ethnicity, is negative. And that's what it's portrayed in the media. That's what it's portrayed everywhere around us. And back to your earlier point about, are we doing it to each other? Yeah, because what we've been taught is white is right, black ain't. And even though subconsciously we don't try to, but subconsciously, even think about black businesses. How many times have people said, I'm not gonna support that because I don't know, I don't know how they're gonna work out. But I can trust, the white businesses because they're gonna provide the services they said they're going to.
I
So it's kind of embedded. It's sad. It's crazy.
I hate to put the devil's advocate on this, but sometimes, and just sometimes, I love my black businesses, but sometimes we don't operate in excellence. And so that causes us to be like, you know what? I'm going to leave the black business alone, and I'm going to go across the bridge to my Caucasian sisters and brothers because at least I know I'm going to get it on time. Or I'm going to get what I asked for, what I paid for. And I hate to say that, but it's facts. But I think you're absolutely right. I do believe that the media played a part in how the black culture is viewed. Even when the pandemic came out, at first it was everyone was getting it, but then all of a sudden things shifted in a way where all of a sudden it was only the African American culture that was receiving the increase in the pandemic numbers. And I was like, I'm sorry, are we the plague now? Are we going back to this? What's happening? And so
we have to kind of remember systemic racism places us in spaces that are more confined. We typically, I grew up poor. Going to the doctor was a luxury. And so we have to remember that. And so everything, the reason why our numbers are so high has everything to do with us maybe not even being able to afford the PPE, most of us being essential workers that are constantly being exposed, and then being in crowded neighborhoods and homes with people coming in and out, and then not even having, health care. So that's the reason why our numbers are so high. We continue to be at the forefront of danger. I believe personally that Black women are standing even in front of the men. We're the first ones. We are the first ones raising our fists in solidarity. We are the first ones on the line. We are secondary beneficiaries in every single movement that we impart in. When it came to women's suffrage, we fight for women's sake, but technically we're really fighting for white women first. We fight on the side of racism and civil rights, and a lot of times we're still left in the background. We're left in the dust, and so I think it's time not for us to turn against Black men or even turn against the white race, but it's time for us to acknowledge some things that are very, very clear. And these things are so tragic and so common that we don't even accept them. Yeah. They're so tragic and so common that we don't even. It's kind of like if you go to a concert and people keep pushing up against you and brushing you. Yeah. At some point, you stop saying ouch and you stop getting an attitude and you stop complaining, right? Because this is happening to everyone around me and I don't know anything. And it's not until you're in the parking lot and someone runs into you that you realize that hurt the whole time. Yeah. And when I'm saying Black women are afraid to say that hurt, I was injured, that was inconvenient, that was tragic for me. But who are we talking to but each other? We have to admit there's some things in our community that are tragic. Yeah. And I think the abuse and the abandonment of Black women, not even, and I agree with you, Becca, that a lot of it has to do with tearing down the Black man first, but then we were by necessity and by default the matriarch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. Like I totally agree with all what you're saying because, but then I think it's also one of those things that, how people say the strong Black woman, and then because she's the strong Black woman, she got a bad attitude and but not taking into consideration all those things that you said. Like, of course, I've endured so much and I've overcome so much, and I still don't get the respect
Mhm.
that, you know what I'm saying, people that have done an ounce of what I've contributed to society.
Mhm.
Yes, I
Mhm.
birthed the babies, I
Mhm.
raised the babies, I pay for the babies to go to school, to go to Ivy League, and you
I
know,
know.
we have the degrees. Thank you. And
No,
and
no,
then
no.
I'm standing back here. I've taken a back seat to you to push you and whatever you got going for it, and I still don't get nothing. So no, I feel that. That's totally true. I wonder what that looks like, because then too I have to also pose this. As African American women, we don't always do the best job of supporting and uplifting one another. Because if we're looking to the black men to do it and they not doing it, or we're looking to, any other race to do it and they're not doing it, but then we bicker and fight amongst each other, what's happening? Are we actually contributing to where we are sitting? I mean, I think so. I don't think that we're helping the cause by being that way. I think that if we do more supporting of each other, more encouraging of each other, more uplifting, our sisters in whatever they're producing and whatever they're doing and whatever they got going on, that can help us change the narrative. Because
So can I,
it's
can
up
I,
to us to change the narrative.
so
But in
can I
order,
ask, this is
no,
a real question. Is it just a narrative? Because this is the thing. When I called you ladies and you immediately jumped on board. I was on another call for Fox yesterday, and before the call even began, I had black women saying I love you who had never even met me. What I'm saying is, are is there more competition between black women than there is competition between white women, or is it just that for entertainment purposes, that's what we see?
I think it's a level of maturity. That's just me. I feel like in order for some women to go ahead and support our sisters, either whether we're the same color or whether we're a different race, I believe it's a level of maturity. That yes, one, you have to be confident within yourself and says, you know what, I'm not here to compete against my sister. I'm here to compete against myself.
Right.
I have
Mhm,
to be the best version of
Absolutely.
myself that I was the day before. So
mhm,
I
Right.
think it's a mindset. Um, like I love to support anything. I see somebody
Right.
selling the T-shirt, selling their
Yeah.
album. I'm hitting that share button and I'm like, go support my
Right.
sister or go support his
Right.
music or whatever the case may be. I truly believe in supporting our own.
mhm.
I do think it's a maturity level.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
there are more of you than there are of those, these anecdotal
Right.
women that we see on television for entertainment. And so we have to understand that even we are affected and victimized by the lack of representation of real women. I
Right.
don't know women like that. I don't know
Well,
women who throw drinks in each other's faces 5 minutes after
yeah.
hugging, saying, I love your outfit. I think that we have to be, I don't know these people. I think that there are the same amount of women who are immature and misguided in every community, who are competing with each other in every community. I think that we have been exploited.
Right. True.
I think we have been exploited, and we have to become leaders. So I don't want to hold you guys very much longer, but the last thing that I want to ask is this. Um, what responsibility do we have as Black women and as the Black community to affect change in protecting Black women?
I'll say this. I believe Barack Obama said this. We have to be the change that we want to see. If it wasn't him, it was somebody.
Yeah.
So, so I believe in one, being the best me that I can be to be able to be a good leader for someone else. And trust and believe we are always being watched, whether we know it or not. So
Yeah.
if I'm not healthy here, then whatever someone sees, that's unhealthy behavior.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're being watched. So that means somebody's going to watch me and they may imitate that or try to duplicate that. And that may not necessarily be the best way to go about doing things, whatever. But
Yeah.
I definitely believe the change first starts in me and then spreads out.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback off of that. I do agree. I think we should use our individual spheres of influence. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I don't have 15,000 followers, or I don't have, all these things too. Your sphere of influence is the people that's on your block, the people you
Absolutely.
encounter store, the people that you socialize with at your church or whatever. Use your sphere of influence again, like Angel said, to be the light that you want to see in the earth. So give, like that sister girl. I love y'all. Do y'all receive it, my Black sisters? I love y'all.
Receive it. I receive it.
Be afraid and not feel some type of way about saying that, being confident in that. But I do believe sometimes people struggle in encouraging other people like that because there is a lack of identity within them. And so my prayer is that we're all on the journey to find out who we are and whose we are, because that makes it a lot easier and a lot more palatable for you to give and exude that to somebody else.
Absolutely.
And I think that there's so much for us to do as Black women. There's so much that we can do as Black women. I also want to make sure that I hold our kings accountable.
Yes.
Very clear and unapologetic about the fact that we need you.
Yeah.
And so I want to say that, before we end this call, because I think that, our ancestry, what's been passed down to us for generations, this generational curse has been that we always take care of everyone else first. And so we have hidden our kings under floorboards, and we should have. And we have, and we've been the first at the funerals. We've been the first to sit down on buses and start boycotts. We've been the first, and now we are asking to not just be the gardener, but to be the rose.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And so this is not calling out Black men saying we're angry or anything. What we're saying is we need your protection, we need your love, we need the entire community, and we need the entire country to support Black women. I want to thank you guys for jumping on this call. This is a difficult thing to discuss, and it's very layered, and it's not enough that we can talk about in 20 minutes, but I want to thank you for this discussion. RSVP Black Women, which stands for Respect, Serve, Vindicate, and Protect Black Women. I want to invite you guys to continue to support KTSU 90.9 FM radio, The Choice, as well as The Vibe, where we will always make sure that we entertain you, but we also inform you. We'll make sure that, we're not just simply making you dance, but we're also singing your praises. And so we appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks, ladies.